Chair Gall, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. Welcome to the Monday, January 23rd, 2023 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that the Planning Commission meeting is being held using the Zoom webinar format, so you will see that the Planning Commissioners and staff are panelists. Please note that there are several ways to submit comments during the meeting. You may raise your hand in Zoom by clicking on the raise hand button located at the bottom of your screen. Members of the public who are participating in the Zoom webinar by phone can dial *9 to raise a hand. You may also send your comments by email to publiccomment@burlingame.org. Staff will be monitoring emails submitted during the meeting, which will be read at the appropriate time. The length of the emailed comment should be commensurate with the 3 minutes customarily allowed for verbal comments. If you are an applicant or an applicant's representative, I will ask you to raise your hand when your agenda item is up for discussion so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. We ask that you also turn on your video at that time so we can have more clear communication, simulating the experience we would have if we were meeting in person. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube and will be uploaded to the city's website after the meeting. Agenda item number 2 is the roll call. The record should note that 6 members of our commission are present this evening. 7 members of the commission, are present this evening. Agenda item number 3 is the approval of the minutes. We have meeting minutes to review and approve this evening from the Monday, January 9th, 2023 regular Planning Commission meeting. Are there any comments, changes, or discussions regarding the minutes? I see no hands raised.
Oh, Commissioner Lowenthal.
Chair Gall, I was absent for the January 9th meeting, but I did review the video and look at all the meeting notes.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from January. When was that?
January 9th.
9th, I'm sorry, January 9th.
Okay, I'll second that motion. So we have a commissioner by Vice Chair Pfaff and the second by Commissioner Chair Gall. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado.
Oh, you're muted.
Aye.
There we go.
Commissioner Haran.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid.
Aye.
Commissioner Say.
Aye.
Vice Chair Pfaff.
Aye.
And Chair Gall.
Aye. So the motion passes 7-0-0. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda or do we have any recusals tonight? Commissioner Say?
Yes, I'll be recusing from item 8A as we are the project architect.
Okay.
And there are no changes proposed from staff.
All right. Then we will move on to agenda item number 5, public comments, non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for a future Planning Commission meeting, commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the Planning Commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please speak clearly into the microphone. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on any item that is not on our agenda?
Chair Gall, there are no hands raised and there are no public comment emails.
Then I am going to move on to agenda item number 6, which is study items. We do not have any study items. If I'm great.
That's correct.
We have no study items. So we will then move on to the consent calendar, which I believe we also have nothing on the consent calendar tonight. So that will bring us to regular action. Okay. So the first item on our action calendar is item 8A 1116 Rosedale Avenue. If you are the applicant or the applicant's representative, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communication regarding this project? No. Then let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
Chair Gull, I have Assistant Planner Fazia Ali joining me this evening. This is her first meeting helping me out, so I will turn it over to Fazia.
This is an application for a design review and special permit for a second floor balcony for a first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling at 1116 Rosedale Avenue, zoned R1. With this application, the floor area would increase from 1,588 square feet to 2,672 square feet, where 2,714 square feet is the maximum allowed. With this proposed addition, the number of bedrooms would increase from 2 to 4. 2 parking spaces, one of which must be covered, are required on site. There are currently no covered parking spaces on site because the existing attached garage does not meet clear interior dimensions to qualify for a covered parking space. However, the attached garage will be enlarged in order to provide one code-compliant covered parking space. One uncovered parking space is provided in the driveway. A special permit is being requested for a 43 square foot second story balcony at the rear of the house. At the Planning Commission Design Review Study meeting on November 28th, 2022, the Commission had several comments and suggestions regarding the window size and locations, as well as reworking the roof design. The applicant submitted a response letter and revised plans, date stamped January 9th, 2023, to address the Planning Commission's comments and suggestions. Suggested findings for design review are found on page 3 and 4 of the staff report. This concludes my summary of the staff report. Do you have any questions for staff?
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? I do not see any hands, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, this is Lauren Lee from Insight Design, and I'm representing our client, Sanjeev and Deepti Sinha, the owners of 1116 Rosedale Avenue. And what I'd like to mention tonight is that we took a look at the comments from the last meeting, and we agreed with the comments from the commissioners and revised the roof plan, which has reduced the top of the ridge height by 2 feet 5 inches to 26 feet 1 inch. And we believe that this has improved the scale of the house while also improving the proportion of the front door as well. We also changed the design feature over the garage to a shed roof design to reduce the appearance of a tall garage door for that single car garage. And you can see those revisions that were reflected on the revised renderings that were just up on the screen. A couple of other items. We did also decrease the size of the stair window on the right side, and have the full support of the project from the right side neighbor at 1112 Rosedale Avenue. And I believe they have, those neighbors have sent a letter in of support. And then the last comment I'd like to address is a comment regarding the rear yard neighbor at 1113 Hamilton. Sanjeev and Deepti have had a good conversation with them about their privacy concerns, and now have their support knowing that there are 2 new trees planted along that rear right side of the property that will provide a privacy screen from the second floor addition and balcony. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the applicant? No, then do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Yes, we have one hand raised, and we also have a public comment email. So let me allow Elaine Fuchs to speak in just a second. Okay. Elaine, whenever you are ready, you may begin.
Okay, can you see me?
We
We can only hear you, yes.
Okay, okay. So I live directly in well, their backyard is in my front yard. So oh, what's going on?
You have
Okay.
3 minutes to speak. Yes.
Okay, all right. So I just got the notice of the addition late last week, and I just wrote a public comment, but I'd like to read it now because I don't think you got it in time. I can do that. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, my house is at 1117 Hamilton Lane, Burlingame, directly in back of 1116 Rosedale. Though I understand the need for a second-story addition for a growing family, it isn't clear why the balcony is necessary as well. My concerns are lack of privacy in my family room and bedrooms, as well as lack of natural light coming in through the large window in my family room. Balconies aren't common in Burlingame Village, and I join my neighbors at 1113 Hamilton Lane, who are also worried about the same concerns as me. Trees to provide privacy were mentioned as a possible help in maintaining privacy, as well as solid barriers on the balcony. Would these trees be across the entire back of their fence or just partially? Again, I would like to have reassurances that these conditions would be put in place before moving ahead with the plans. So please provide me with a rationale for the balcony when it would impinge on privacy rights. Also, could you explain the additional footage of the extra unit in the back? Is it for a rental or private residence? And thank you for the explanations.
Thank you. You said we have an email also, Ruben?
Yes. Let me bring it up and I'll read it. Give me a second here. Okay. We, Amag and Manjiri, are the resident owners of 1113 Hamilton Lane, Burlingame, California. The applicants, Deepti and Sanjeev, reached out to us after our public comment regarding the privacy concerns. They mentioned privacy being top of mind for them as well and explained their plan to plant trees in the area where the shed currently exists. Well-placed privacy trees will adequately address our concerns regarding the balcony. They also mentioned their plan to have the balcony railing to be wooden ones, partially blocking the large window. They explained that the window glass is not planned to be too glossy to cause glare based on a current installation they have. These plans look reasonable to us. We thank the applicants and the commission for addressing our concerns. That is the only public comment email we received. I do see that Elaine Fuchs has her hand up again, but she did receive her 3 minutes, but it's up to the chair if you would like to allow her to speak.
Actually, what I'd like to do is have Lauren maybe address her concerns about the privacy and the planting and what I think she's interpreting as an additional structure in the back.
Yeah, so I don't understand the additional structure. There's actually a structure there that is being removed, so there's no rental structure in the backyard. And then maybe I could discuss maybe putting some trees along the rear fence line. Deepti and Sanjeev, would that be something that you would be open to? Okay. Right now, the two trees that are proposed are along the right rear side of the lot. So we can certainly consider putting privacy trees along the rear fence line of the lot.
And we do currently have some trees along that back fence. And I don't think we were planning on getting rid of them altogether. We are planning on having some trees back there. I know Elaine also has a couple of trees on her side too. The balcony, just to explain, the purpose is really to help with providing a little bit of fresh air for people that are in the office, which that's attached to the office. So we'll mostly be sitting, not necessarily standing looking at our neighbors, but also to provide us a place for us to be able to watch our children in the backyard from the second floor.
Okay, thank you. Does Elaine still have her hand up?
Yes, she does.
All right, I'll let Elaine have another minute or so, since we have a shorter agenda tonight. Elaine, would you like to ask another question?
Oh, thank you. I think that was a mistake when I put my hand up, but I believe that we worked well when we had the fence redone, remember? And there was no problem, and I'd be happy for you to have, additional space. I think you're very respectful of the process. I just didn't know. Anyway, if you could make sure that the privacy trees go all the way, in the back, I think that's good. And all of those other things you were talking about. So you're getting rid of the shed, you said?
Yeah.
What's going to be there?
Backyard space.
Oh, just for the kids?
And there'll also be trees there.
Jeez. Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate the commission and I appreciate my neighbors.
Thank you. All right, so we have no other questions of the applicant and there are no other public comments. Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments on this project? Commissioner Schmidt.
Yeah, I appreciate the changes that were made and the consideration of the neighbors for this project. I think it looks good. I think it's ready to move forward. And I think that, it's a little large in this neighborhood, but yet there's a few other homes in the area that are second story additions as well. And it's just kind of a matter of time until some of these neighborhoods grow a little bit bigger. So I think that this is a very nice solution in this particular location, and I support it.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I appreciate that they lowered the ridge height of the roof by 2.5 feet. I think that's substantial, and I think that helps. And I think my comments on the previous meeting were that over time there will be many more second-story additions, and it's nice that this is hopefully not going to overpower the neighborhood. Vice Chair Pfaff.
Yeah, agree with what's been said and very much appreciate neighbors working together. It's refreshing. So, and if there's nobody else who wants to say something, I guess I could make a motion.
Sure.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve 1116 Rosedale Avenue.
Second that.
And sorry, before we vote, Chair Pfaff, just wanted to make sure that the motion included the special permit and the findings there as well.
Sorry, with the special permit for, it was the porch, right?
A second floor balcony.
Balcony, yes, with that.
Thank you. And sorry, I think it was Commissioner Haran. Did your second include that as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Pfaff and a second by Commissioner Haran. Any discussion on the motion? Then can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Haran,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pfaff,
Aye.
Chair Gall.
Aye, so motion passes 7-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $745, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations and good luck with your project. We'll move on to agenda item number 8B, 523 Francisco Drive. If you are the applicant or the applicant's representative, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communication regarding this project? I don't see any hands, so let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
This application is for design review for a first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling at 523 Francisco Drive, zoned R1. The proposed project would increase the floor area from 2,449 square feet to 2,859 square feet, where 3,100 square feet is the maximum allowed. With this application, there are 4 existing bedrooms and no changes to the bedroom count are proposed. 2 parking spaces, one of which must be covered, are required on site. The existing covered parking space and the garage are non-conforming in width and depth. However, since there is no change to the parking requirement based on the number of bedrooms, a parking variance is not required. At the Planning Commission Design Review meeting on January 9th, 2023, the Commission had several comments and suggestions. The Commission suggested the applicant to incorporate landscaping to mitigate privacy concerns raised by the neighbor. The applicant submitted a response letter and revised plans dated January 10th, 2023 to address the Planning Commission's comments and suggestions. Suggested findings for design review are found on page 3 of the staff report. This concludes my summary of the staff report. Do you have any questions for staff?
Excuse me. Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? I don't see any hands, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Let's see, I believe Jesse Gersa is the designer for this project. I saw his hand up goes up first. There it goes. Okay, let me bring in Jesse.
Good evening, Commissioner. Sorry, I had a little trouble there getting on. I can't seem to get the handle of all this stuff, but good evening. I'd like to say thank you again for the opportunity to revise our plans to accommodate your concerns and the neighbors' concerns. I have Mr. and Mrs. Sharma online currently with us. So I brought up the comment in regards to the privacy issues that the neighbor had on the left-hand side of the addition. And so when I spoke to Mr. and Mrs. Sharma, they were more than happy to remove the windows so that they wouldn't impeach on their privacy. And they were very, concerned about that and to be a good neighbor. Also, they're, they would like a little bit more wall space in the bedroom walls. So overall, what we've done is just remove those side windows and the bottom windows, since there wasn't a whole lot to see anyways, because their adjacent residence was, pretty much, right directly across from them with a bunch of shrubbery and bushes. So that's kind of what we've done at this point in time to remedy the privacy issue. And I hope the commissioners feel that this was a good solution.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant? That's a good sign. So I don't see any hands. Do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak on this item?
I'm not seeing any hands, and there were no public comment emails submitted for this project.
All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Schmidt.
Yeah. Thank you for making the changes. It looks good. It addresses the issues simply. And I think it's a good looking project. Thanks.
Commissioner Camarado.
I agree with Commissioner Schmidt. I think this is a nice project and I could see moving this forward to approval.
Okay. Any other comments? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this project per the staff report.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt and a second by Commissioner Camarado. Any discussion on the motion? No, then can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado?
Aye.
Commissioner Huran?
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal?
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Aye.
Commissioner Say?
Aye.
Vice Chair Foss?
Aye.
Chair Gull?
Aye. So the motion passes 7-0-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $745, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations and good luck with your project. Brings us to agenda item 8C, 2888 Adeline Drive. If you are the applicant or the applicant's representative, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communication regarding this project? No, then let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, this is an application for design review and hillside area construction permit for a first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling at 2888 Adeline Drive, zoned R1. The proposed project would have a total floor area of 5,089 square feet, where 8,488 square feet is the maximum allowed. The subject property is located within the hillside overlay zone. Code section 25.20.040 states that hillside development shall be designed to preserve existing distant views. View preservation shall be limited to obstruction of distant views to San Francisco Bay, the San Francisco Airport, and Mills Canyon from primary indoor living areas, such as living rooms and family rooms. At the Planning Commission Design Review Study meeting on January 9th, 2023, the Commission had several comments and suggestions regarding this project. The applicant submitted a response to comments letter dated January 12th and revised plans date stamped January 11th to address the Planning Commission's comments. Suggested findings for design review are found on pages 3 and 4 of the staff report. I would point out that the proposed plans do show that the new windows will either be fiberglass or vinyl windows to match existing. So perhaps you may want to ask for a little bit more clarification from the applicant on the windows. This concludes my staff report, my summary of the staff report, and I'd be happy to take questions of staff if you have any now.
Thank you, Ruben. Are there any questions of staff? I do not see any hands, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, there was a bit of feedback there, but go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Is the audio clear?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for hearing us. We had some comments that Maria forwarded to us. Was it 2 weeks ago? And we strive to get those back in to keep the momentum. And I think it was up on the screen just a little bit earlier. A lot to do with clarifying the visualization and to showing different angles so that the addition can be further clarified and understand its impact or lack thereof, especially for the public right of way. And as it pertains to the neighbors, I think on the later page, there's or former page, there's like a cropping box that shows exactly where the addition takes place, highlighted in blue on the screen over here. So entirely in the back of the property, and a good portion located under existing decks.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, or?
Well, I think the rest is self-explanatory. We did also add notes to clarify the materiality as was recommended, and yeah, I think I'm ready to answer your
Okay.
questions if
Thank
if
you.
any.
Are there any questions for the applicant? No, I don't see any hands. Okay, do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak on this item?
I'm not seeing any hands raised and no public comment emails were submitted.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments on this project? Commissioner Haran.
Yeah, I just appreciate the renderings. They were really helpful to understand what was going on at the back of the house, and it confirmed in my mind that there's no issue with any views being impacted. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Schmidt.
Yeah, same. It really did help clarify. I know this wasn't a complicated rear addition, but the renderings and sections and everything really helped quite a bit in explaining what's going on back there. And I think it'll make it easier for everybody to approve and ensure that the right thing gets done. I don't have any issues with the hillside. I don't believe that this is going to be something that's seen, and I'm prepared to approve. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair Pfaff.
Same. I think I really appreciate the 3D. The renderings have helped enormously for me. Also, just want to reiterate that if it hasn't already been done with the application, that if approved, the fiberglass has clarified what's going on. Just as the staff has noted, that needs to be done. Department head, Haran.
Okay, no other hands? Maybe we should have a discussion on the window. It's really only a window or two on the back. It's kind of like the design to me. I'm not that concerned about it because the existing windows don't meet our desired criteria at the moment. So I don't think we need to string them out and have them put an expensive window in that's not going to match anyways. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Commissioner Schmidt has his hand up. Yep.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Commissioner Dahl, or Chair Dahl. I think that this is in the back and really kind of up to them on how they want to match and deal with the window system as a whole. I would hope that they're probably choosing newer, better solutions that will be better than the old vinyls that I took out of my place. So I think that's more of their issue than it is ours.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion on this project?
I'll make a motion that we approve this per the staff report and including the hillside construction addition.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt and a second by Vice Chair Pfaff. Any discussion on the motion? No, then can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado.
Aye.
Commissioner Haran.
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Aye.
Commissioner Say.
Aye.
Vice Chair Pfaff.
Aye.
Chair Gall.
Aye, so motion passes 7-0-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $745, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations and good luck with your project. All right, we're moving right along. We're going to get into the design review study items, which we have one, item 9A, 2735 Burlingview Drive. If you are the applicant or the applicant's representative, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? I don't see any hands, so let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
This is an application for design review, hillside area construction permit, special permit for first and second story plate heights, and minor modification for covered parking space dimension for a first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling at 2753 Burlingview Drive, zoned R1. The subject property is an interior lot with an existing one-story single unit dwelling and attached garage. With this application, the floor area would increase from 1,997 square feet to 3,285 square feet, where 4,301 square feet is the maximum allowed. The subject property is located within the hillside overlay zone. The code states that hillside development shall be designed to preserve existing views, and that view preservation shall be limited to obstruction of distant views to San Francisco Bay, the San Francisco Airport, and Mills Canyon from primary indoor living areas. The applicant is also requesting a special permit for a first and second story plate height. So 10 feet, 3.5 inches is proposed on the first floor, where 9 feet is allowed without a special permit, and 9 feet, 4 inches is proposed on the second floor, where 8 feet is allowed. The existing house contains 4 bedrooms, and with this project, the number of bedrooms would increase to 6. 3 parking spaces, 2 of which must be covered, are required on site. The existing attached garage is not considered a 2-car garage because currently the clear interior dimensions do not meet the minimum required. However, with this application, modifications are proposed to the garage, which would bring it more in conformance with parking requirements. 2 covered parking spaces are being provided in the attached garage, but the parking space on the left side has a stairway above it, and there has to be a minimum clearance required there. So the dimension is actually a little shorter. It's 16 feet 2 inches in length, where 18 feet is required. The applicant is requesting a minor modification for a 10% reduction in this covered parking space length. 1 uncovered space is provided in the driveway, and all other zoning code requirements have been met. This concludes a summary of the staff report, and at this time, I'd be happy to take questions of staff if you have any.
Thank you, Ruben. Are there any questions of staff? I don't see any hands, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you'd like to add about this project?
Good evening, Commission. Tim Redine's project designer. Also, the owners are also in attendance tonight. Really want to just kind of strike off kind of the 4 major points that we tried to achieve with this project. Number 1 is just adding living space to a kind of, 60s, 50s kind of modern style home. It's a smaller footprint for a family. So our design intent was to create a larger footprint. And then also working with enlarging it is making the massing work without interfering with neighbors' views. So what we decided to do was to add to the rear of the property, which is probably the least impactful for all the neighbors and also for the owners themselves, because we are keeping a majority of the existing house intact. So in regards to that, we were trying to create a clean, modern style and then update the existing residence, which does have a really cool kind of mid-century modern vibe. And then the fourth of the 4 points was The project does have great views from the second floor, from the new second floor. So just accentuating on those views and exploring how to get the best from it. You can see in some of the 3Ds that the addition is set far back on the property, and that's for a few things to help with the views, number one. Number two, to keep most of the existing house existing. You know, we are on a budget on this one. It's not a tear down. So the last point I'd like to make is the owners did do a really good job of reaching out to the neighbor above and below. We haven't had any major concerns as of today. But to that end, we're looking for comments and hopefully having a good, you know, second round after we hear your concerns and comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? Vice Chair Pfaff?
Yeah, I have a couple, Tim. So the project, I mean, the street directly behind the house was kind of unclear to me. Is that still
Hillsborough.
Burlingame? It's Hillsborough.
Yes.
Yeah. So so you say they've had contact with the Hillsborough neighbors.
They have contact with the person to the right side who's in Burlingame. They also do know the people in Hillsborough. We are very much lower than the Hillsborough people.
Okay, so could you just explain their special need for the height, what are they, special permits on the heights for both floors?
Okay, for the first floor, so you know we're building on a site that's sloped. So the existing garage has like a 10-foot plate height. So what we were doing on the addition is matching it. So just by virtue of what's there, we're building above, you know, a traditional plate height that's allowable. It's kind of like it's like a bi-level type house. So that is the reason for this. That's the reason for the asking for the acceptance on the first floor plate heights. Otherwise, the first floor plate heights are all existing. It's just that small rumpus room that's next to the next to the garage.
So you're not asking for a second floor?
We are. I was just doing the first floor.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're doing one floor at a time. And then the second floor is because we're doing this mono, like a single pitch. So we're asking for, you know, we're trying to get volume out of this house a little bit. So doing the mono pitch technically does less massing, but we're asking for more height inside. So that's why we're going over the 8-foot plate height. And then also you have to understand that this is an existing house. The rest of the house, the existing house is only 8 foot. So technically the foot we're asking for on the second floor, we could have been asking for on the first floor and not have to ask for a variant or ask for your special approval, because the existing house is a very modest house. So does that answer that?
It answers it. Thank you.
Good. It seems like we're asking for a lot, I know, but it's mostly due to existing conditions.
Any other questions of the applicant? Commissioner Say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I should have asked this question at staff level. Sorry, can I just back up for a second? I'm wondering, do the Hillsborough residents get notified as well within that 500-foot radius?
Yes, we actually send out notices to all property owners within 300 feet of the property, and that would include any residents in Hillsborough or under the county jurisdiction.
Oh,
so they did receive the postcards.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant? All right, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Or were any comments received through email?
No public comment emails, and I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Right, then I am going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments on this project? Commissioner Camerado.
I think that we should actually probably do story polls on this, just to make sure that it's not impacting anybody else around. So, whatever we decide, and now however we decide to move forward with this, I think we definitely need to do some story polls.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schmidt?
I actually, I was a little surprised when I opened it up and saw it at first. And then when I went and saw the house and in the context with the other houses around it, I actually feel it fits in pretty well. I think it's significantly below the house on the Hillsborough side. And I didn't see any windows even looking over their house from the neighbor on the right. The view is really out the front, not across them. So I'm not sure I actually see any impacts from the neighbors. And given that we're not having any outcry this evening, I'm not sure that I see a view impact. And I can appreciate the height requests. Those height requests are more for when we're in the flats and we have lower houses next to each other and we're trying to be respectful. But in this case, being that it's a hillside house and a very modern design and everything, I'm not sure I see any reason to not approve the request for the height variance as well. So I'm actually really good with this project and could see it going forward.
Okay, Commissioner Say.
Yes, I was driving up and down the hill and trying to get a sense of the neighbors' potential view impacts in the area. And I couldn't quite tell if the house to the right rear of this property may have some impact. And as we've seen in the past, that, a first hearing of a meeting, tends to could be quiet, no neighbor comments. And then once those story polls go up, suddenly everyone notices the impact of a project on their property. So I would agree that I think story polls would just help us play it safe. And not get any complaints when it's too late and a lot more money has been spent down the road. So I too feel like we should add some story polls just for safekeeping.
Thank you. Commissioner Haran.
Yeah, just on the plate height, I think I understand and agree with the ground floor explanation as an existing condition. I'm not there on the second floor because it's a vaulted kind of shed roof with a clear story. It already has a lot of volume, so I'm not sure why that extra foot makes all the difference for them. Maybe it's a matter of whether the story polls suggest there's a problem and they could lower the roof another foot, but that's my view on the plate heights.
Thank you. Commissioner Lowenthal.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with my fellow Commissioner Schmidt and Say. I think it's a nice project. I think putting the story polls is probably good due diligence. And I appreciate the fact that they included a story poll plan. So they're obviously prepared to do that. So I don't see any harm in doing that. And I also agree that once those story polls go up, there's probably a little bit more interest in the neighbors. And so that would be my preference, is to move forward in that direction.
Thank you. Commissioner Schmidt, you have your hand up again, or is that from before? Previous? Okay.
Chair Gall, the applicant does have his hand raised. If you'd like to open up the public hearing to allow him to speak, or it's up to you.
Yeah, I'll reopen the public hearing. I don't remember if I actually even closed it, but go ahead, Tim.
Good evening. Yeah, I mean, we reached out to the neighbors and we had no comments. And of course, as Mr. Lowenthal said, we included a story poll plan because I'm just trying to be proactive, and I do reach out to pretty much every project's neighbors. It's really up to you. I mean, if it's a condition of approval to put the story polls, I think we can do it. But we did reach out to the neighbors, and we have emails back to the planner saying that we did. And, you know, to some point, the neighbors, you know, need to have the wherewithal to actually come up and say something before it's too late. We've put a lot of money into it before, you know, before this point. You know, we will put it up, but I think it needs to be a fast process of approving it. If we have to do the story polls, I just, you know, we did the outreach and we got nothing from anyone. There was, you know, neither a good or a bad thing. They were just like, thank you for presenting it. And we haven't heard from them. So we're willing to do some of the story polls, but it needs to be kind of like a condition of approval, just because it's a lot of work to put the story polls up and it's costly. So we want a little bit of reassurance that, you know, once there isn't an outreach or an outcry, that we can move forward quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any comments, commissioners? Any further comments? I should say, Vice Chair Pfaff.
Yeah, I'm tending to agree with the most of those who of our commission who have spoken. I think it's just safer to go down that route. And you know, people are out of town or they come back and say, what is this? I never got anything, I never heard. So, you know, I think it's the safer way to go. I'm not sure what that means with condition of approval, because those may show, you know, everybody that, hey, 1 foot lower works okay too, or whatever it is. So I don't know what the rules are actually with the, I don't even want to speak about that part, but I do think that is personally, I think it's a wise thing to do. So I agree with my.
Yeah. I don't see that. We're not going to approve this project tonight. It sounds like we're going to require story polls, which I think is prudent in a situation like this for a lot of the reasons that have been pointed out. So it's not going to be a condition of approval. It's just part of the process more than anything at this point.
Through the chair, if I can just add to that, that's correct. This is design review study, so it's not up for action. We wouldn't allow story polls as a condition of approval. What the next steps are is that the applicant will have to install the story polls, get them certified, submit that back to us at least 10 days before the meeting so that we can notice it properly. Then we'll have an action meeting to review the story polls and receive any other comment from the public.
Thank you. Commissioner Lowenthal, I see your hand up.
Yeah, just anecdotally, I would just say that, you know, this is a hillside overlay district. We have a certain obligation as planning commissioners to look at these, you know, a little bit, you know, objectively. And so story polls kind of solve that, as well as they're asking for 2 special permits at Plate House. So I think the trade-off of having some story polls and these 2 obligations for us to look at it seems like a win-win situation. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Then would anyone like to make a motion? I'll make a motion that we bring this back on the regular action item once the story polls have been erected and certified and the public has been noticed.
I second that motion.
That was Vice Chair Pfaff. Oh, sorry. Got it, Audrey. Okay, so we have a motion by Chair Gall and a second by Commissioner Say. Any discussion on the motion? No, then can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Haran,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pfaff,
Aye.
and Chair Gall.
Aye, so the motion passes 7-0-0, and this is not appealable. So that concludes our design review study section of the meeting. We move on to commissioners' reports. And do we have any? Is that a no? Okay, then director's reports. I'd see that we have 2 FYIs, 740 Paloma and 1327 Benito. Would anyone like to pull either of those items? Or would any member of the public, I guess, like to pull either of those items? Nope. Pretty agreeable tonight, you guys.
Great. Yeah, I was gonna try to get you out by 8 o'clock, but we might go a minute or two over. Just two things that we can't discuss this evening, but just wanted to let you all know. So one is that we are going to try to coordinate a meeting with the Planning Commission and design review consultants in the near future. We'll probably do it as a study session, perhaps at 6 o'clock before a regular meeting. And so keep an eye out in your email for a doodle poll. I will check the next couple of meetings for your availability, at 6 p.m. just and pick a date then. And the other item is that we are going to be required to go back to in-person or hybrid meetings in March, but we do have 2 meetings in February. So Commissioner Gall, I will reach out to you later this week to just discuss that and see if we want to come back earlier. Unfortunately, we can't discuss it as a group because it's not an agendized item. And there are certain requirements that have to be met. So, but Chair Gall, I'll reach out to you and we can discuss it a little bit and then decide on which meeting to come back to. Hybrid, yeah. And that's all I had. I believe we still have future agenda items coming up after that.
Yes. Are there any future agenda items? Or anyone have recommendations for a future agenda item?
We have not forgotten about the others that have been brought up. It's just takes staff a little time to prepare something to bring back to you. So, but definitely haven't forgotten about that.
Okay. Well, good to see everyone. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 8:02 p.m.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Night, everybody.